Alright, my mic was muted. Hi there, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. Hopefully I'm coming across clearly. There's no focus goals for today. Plan is just kind of to discuss some general things about the community. Have a discussion with everyone. Feel free to put your comments in the chat. I'll be sure to respond to them as quickly as possible. Just going to wait for a few people more people to get on the stream before I start things up. Probably just have to have those music conflicting with one another. Great to hear. So one of the main things we'll be talking about today is as you've seen from the announcements if you looked at them in the Discord, taking a look at some of the reworks we're doing to the tier system. So NFC, as everyone's known that's played it at all, has a overcomplicated and kind of incomprehensible tier system with all of our medals and stuff. We've tried to make it better over the years, but it's still kind of a mess. So what we're going to be doing moving forward is cutting a lot of the tiers and simplifying it down to a much more cohesive system that we feel makes a lot more sense. We've workshopped it a little bit with the community on the Discord. And we feel like we've got a pretty good thing so far. Obviously though, if anyone has any complaints or things they want to bring up that they feel like, hey, that's a bad idea, please do bring that up. Let me open up the web document though and kind of show it off. So firstly, this is what our current system is. I'll be reviewing this several times as more people come onto the stream, but kind of just this complicated list is what we're currently dealing with. A bunch of different speeds, durabilities, all kind of hard to keep track of. Also, certain stuff in here which is completely useless, like iron. No one should ever make an iron tool in NFC. At the moment, it is a completely useless tier because just get a bit of chrome and you can make steel, which is orders of magnitude better. These are kind of some of the issues we're trying to solve. Then we move on to the tier chart over here, and as you can see, it's a little bit more condensed, a little cleaner looking. We've got some special abilities we're adding to the items, kind of try to give them a bit more of a purpose to actually using them. By the way, if the audio mixing's off between the music and my voice, please do let me know. I want to make sure I'm not getting drowned out by the stuff in the background. But yeah. Hey there, Griffin, Chest Chicken, and Anonymous. It's great seeing you guys. So I feel like the best way to compare these two is probably pinning them side by side. You kind of can see the difference in the scale of the two. We're not cutting any of the ores. We kind of toyed with that idea before, but all of the ores that are currently in the game are staying in the game. They'll just get new functions as time goes on for anything that we're cutting from the list. But some things are getting little shifts, like gold gets down to tier 1, but the main thing we've kind of focused on is tier 2 and 3. We feel as though tier 4 and 5 were pretty well stabilized, albeit we did kind of cut them a bit, as we felt like they were a little bit over-bloated beforehand. One changes we've made, for instance, are things like tungsten instead has been just kind of cut as a tier, and it's been replaced by cobalt. Cobalt didn't really serve any function beforehand. It was just kind of a redundant lower tier tungsten. So it's there now. We'll probably reuse tungsten at some point in the future to make like light bulbs and stuff like that, taking the idea from NSSS. Some of our notes we've had on the bottom. kind of some possible tier progressions you can do. Things that can still just work out well. Actually, let me join one of the Discord chats, and there we go. If anyone wants to join the stream and chat a bit, just join public one in our Discord. Excuse me. A little bit tricky starting off a stream like this because it's like trying to not just kind of info dumping at the beginning and being like, eh. Overall, really, the tweaks are fairly just surface level. I'll have them. I'll post both in the chat. So people can access from there the current system from the first one and the reworked system from the second. Also, totally, I get what you see, you know. Iron is definitely not bad, it's just we feel as though it's too weak at the moment. Really, there's... sure, you might occasionally have it and not have any chrome, but it just seems like a bit awkward game design where... Sorry, let me turn down this music, it's kind of interrupting my thoughts. The iron we don't feel is bad, we just kind of feel as though it's a little underpowered for really what it is. We do want to still encourage people to make steel, and not make that deprecated and feel useless. Which is why we've kind of tried to balance it so the two. One still makes sense to make, with still being more powerful. One tweak we've also made as well is it's slightly slower actually, but it has more durability. Which means you're getting instead of steel just being purely better, it's a tiny bit of a trade-off. Not much. It's almost exactly the same speed-wise, but it's a little bit slower. Just to make it so if you're upgrading to steel, you're kind of making a trade-off with it being a little bit slower but higher durability. That way kind of making it make more sense. Also, steel is getting replaced with the recipe from chrome to use anthracite instead, as that's a more realistic lens of really how it should be made. We'll be tweaking all of the ore rarities to make sure everything kind of makes sense still. So as to make sure that no one suddenly like has tons of stuff that is certainly really valuable and rare, or vice versa. Make sure everything stays balanced. So that'll be a complicated process of when we do the world conversion of like converting existing stuff to the new stuff it should be equivalent to, regenerating all the ores in the world to make sure it all works. All of this is planned for version 4.0, and I'll be chatting more about kind of the specific plans of that as the stream goes on. But yeah, if anyone has anything they want me to kind of like do with the stream or anything like that, just let me know, and I'll pivot in that direction. I don't want to leave everyone just bored and sitting around waiting for me to get to something interesting. Preferably, I'd love it if some people were to join the voice chat, as trying to talk just by myself at a live stream is a bit tricky. When there's no real plan as to what we're talking about beyond just general stuff. Blow the mountains up. Also, hey there, White Bear. Yeah, alright. Yep, I dropped it. Give me a sec to Uh, Carolyn, I think that's how they wanted the name pronounced. They had a falling out with the community, didn't really see eye to eye with our creative ideas. They decided to leave the community. We definitely would welcome them back. They're free to come back at any time. They just didn't really want to work with us the way that we kind of were wanting. And things just didn't work out. Our idea of the tier system, Anonymous, is to kind of crush it down a bit more. We feel as though it's a bit overly bloated and just wide at the moment. We kind of want to bring back some of the condensed nature of beta. Not to that extreme of a degree where it's just a couple tiers, but give it a little bit more of a feeling of, instead of every item being kind of its own just objectively better, it's more kind of trade-offs and stuff. But this time balanced a bit better. It's kind of an earlier idea of NFC, where really the older tier systems tried to really make everything kind of contrast and have its own ups and downs. But there was too many and they were too hard to find that it was kind of didn't make sense. We're trying to do a bit of a cleaner version of that this time. But yeah, the Carolyn's port just ended up not really working out. They didn't make any real progress on it, and they're free to, if they ever want to show anything off they've done, they are happy to come back in the community. But as of now, I'm not aware of them having made any progress on it. Eventually, NFC will be getting a fabric version of itself made. That's just not planned for the near future, as it's a low priority for us. Having to rework the entire thing to Station API is just going to be a bit of a mess. Plus, I've been kind of waiting for Station API to level out in the background. To anyone not aware, Station API is basically Fabric API, but for Beta 1.7. It's a great project being worked over by some people over in our modification station. Fantastic. It's a lot of cool stuff behind that project. Help kind of, like, if you build a mod for Station API, you only have to make it for one, and it'll work on both the client and server. Which doesn't sound big until you realize that those were two completely separate entities back in these versions. They were until release 1.3. So they did a lot of interesting stuff to make all that work that I'm not even slightly aware of how. Definitely, that's what the tiers are for, Anonymous. Like, you kind of get to that milestone of Tier 2 where you're in that kind of area, and some of the stuff actually has reasons to go back to Tier 2 and use it. We're trying to make the undead boost good enough that it actually encourages players to use it later into the game, if you gain some protection, extra protection and damage against the undead. But you've got the Tier 3, Tier 4, Tier 5. Tier 5 is still pretty much left untouched. It's still fantastic. One thing we're going to be doing is changing a lot of the ores from being very rare but spawning in large veins to being more common but smaller veins. That way you're not mining around for 2 hours trying to find a vein of iron and not able to find anything. We feel as though it's just a little bit better for game design for players to be able to get more of a reward from their work. Kind of a more linear X to A to B. Not to an extreme degree. We're not trying to just port Beta 1.7 back in and remove the tier system entirely. But we want to bring it a little bit closer to that, as we feel as though it's alienating a lot of players right now with how the current system is. Yeah, wait, but there's a lot of cool stuff being worked on for Station API. The better Nether port is amazing. I mean, it doesn't even look like beta, even slightly. It's astounding. The kind of stuff that's being worked on over there. We plan to stick with Minecraft Coder Pack and our current kind of workflow of how we're working with things, as you kind of have to pick and choose with what compatibility side you want to work with. we're kind of working with the older set of compatibility, jar mods, mod loader, forge, that kind of stuff. The Station API and Fabric doesn't work with any of that, so you have to kind of delve completely into the ecosystem. And we definitely want to integrate into that ecosystem at some point, but it's a bit tricky as we have to balance everything, and it's a completely different workflow, so we'd have to rework the entire mod to get it to work in there. Which is why it's kind of low priority and simmering in the background, is we want to actually get NFC feature complete at some point before we start working on that. Now, obviously, anyone in the community is free to work on a Station API port or anything they want with NFC. We're fully open source. Our source code is on a GitHub page. It's a little bit awkward to set up with XDelta patches and stuff because we can't distribute the source code directly, obviously, with Minecraft licensing and stuff. But it's all there, and all free for anyone to access, launch, mess around with, and all that stuff. As for our progress with version 3.5, just to kind of go on a little bit of a tangent, we haven't made much progress. I've been busy with college. The other developer, Roadhog, has been busy with just various things of his life, working on other projects, things like that. So not much has been developed for version 3.5 yet, but we have had some basics. I did do a port of the creative menu rework for the survival creative menu, which just makes it scale properly to the height of the creative inventory, and also gives a delete button so you can throw items out. That will be a native part of version 3.5. We'll be adding a tabs UI to that version as well. We just haven't developed it yet. We have some basic cool stuff for the update so far, but it's not much developed yet, just to clarify, so don't expect it next month, but expect it within like 6 months. It'll definitely be here by around summer is what my goal will be, to kind of ship it out. No promises though, but it'll come out at some point. I have been working on some of the projects recently. Better Than Adventure, for one, I am working on kind of contributing a bit to, and am attempting to kind of start up the process of porting our language pack system to that. So, that was accidental. So as to let players just utilize all of these language packs in any mod they want. Ideally, I want to get this system ported to regular beta 1.7, as well as a lot of major mods out there. As just this system is great. The work the community has done on this stuff is fantastic, and I'd love to get a wider breadth of people kind of exposed to this content. Of course, that would be with everyone's permission to more widely distribute this stuff. Not just going to blindly throw things out to the community that other people have worked on just for NFC. When will you add in new gameplay content? Version 4.0 really will be the first version of that. Version 3.5 will have some basic additions and stuff, but it's nothing that's planned to change the feeling of the game. Our plan for version 3.5 is kind of just cap out where NFC is at the moment and get it into a nice state where it feels stable and good and happy. And kind of get NFC in a state where people can play it as it is. Version 4.0 is planned to be our major rework where we add a lot of stuff. This is going to be when the tier system is reworked that I've talked about earlier in the stream. Better Than Adventure will be distributing X Delta patches exactly like NFC does to set it up later. I need to work with them at some point to port the NFC process we use for our workspace over to their code. But BTA will be available for that kind of download. Let me grab it, a link to it. As you can see, I use Firefox because Firefox is a good web browser. So yeah, if anyone's curious, that's what Better Than Adventure is. Great mod. I recommend people check it out. Kind of a different vision on kind of some things for NFC. We'll definitely be utilizing a little bit of their code because freely sharing stuff between the projects. Likewise, I'm contributing some stuff from NFC over to their project. That doesn't mean that we're going to fuse together into one mod, but just reutilizing some assets from that we each are developing because why not? It doesn't make you special to develop a thing yourself. Just if someone else already did it, use their code. As long as they give you permission. We'll definitely be utilizing their code probably to add in the 256 tall anvil worlds. Howdy, talking. Also, thanks. Yeah, it's just some work with user Chrome scripts, made it to look a little bit more like the legacy versions. This is like the latest version of the game, but it is more... yeah. Yeah, Better Than Adventure. Their approach is much different than NFC's when it comes to stuff. We're trying to slowly get the game to be more compatible with Beta 1.7 and work to kind of make it a little bit nicer and stuff with that kind of stuff. They're going off in a whole extra direction of just redeveloping tons of stuff. It's awesome. I love what they're doing, but it's not quite what we're trying to do with NFC. But we are totally taking their code for the Anvil worlds, as they wrote some pretty good code for it that's pretty well optimized. Just in general, they're a lot better with code optimization and knowing Java stuff than I'll ever be. Yeah, deobfuscation could be a nightmare, chess. Yeah, WaterFox Classic is a great browser. I recommend everyone try it out if you haven't ever heard of it. It's a nice kind of older style Firefox, pre-quantum type design, but with kind of modern security and stuff. Heavily recommend people try it out if you've never heard of it. Another one that's really good is Pale Moon. Just in general, anything that's not Chromium based, I recommend people try out. Wait, the devs of Pale Moon killed my pal? That's horrible. Don't try out Pale Moon. Shout out to Monster Milgram, who asked for a shout out in the chat. Shout out. Yeah, I take back my recommendation to Pale Moon. But try out MyPal. It's a great web browser. But yeah, everyone, feel free to ask questions, whatever kind of comes to your mind about the things about the future of the project, things you hate about the game as it is right now. Just be open. Obviously, though, be respectful. Don't shout out obscenities in the chat towards people. But otherwise, have at it. Large scale go. Yeah, if I could talk properly. Large scale. What Greffin said. What's the general goal for NFC? Our general goal is to try to expand the gameplay horizon, stay within the purview of what NFC has kind of always been, kind of a beta expansion mod, but with its own distinct feeling, and not adding things just because, oh well, Notch would have added that. We don't care what Notch would have added. We add things based on if they fit our feeling of the game. We will be adding things like the two big things NFC will be receiving in the future is the Sky Dimension update and the Industrial update. Those are currently both planned for version 4.0. At some point we might shift one to be like pushed off to a different update or another. It'll depend on what kind of the scale of both end up being with the update. The Sky Dimension's has a lot of neat ideas that we're planning for it. We're planning to kind of integrate some end type themes to it. Not obviously like having an ender dragon flying around, that's stupid. But we do like some of the ideas of kind of warped corruption that the end has, and we feel like if we lean into that, we can kind of add a bit of that element to the Skylands. Maybe make it kind of an idea of it was previously like the overworld, but because it had no bedrock layer, it slowly was eaten away and kind of split apart by the void. And kind of some of the corruption of the world, and eventually what turned into the end is that void. Maybe messing around with those kind of ideas. The Industrial update is planned currently to be a bit more somewhere between like Better Than Wolves, IC2, and Flaxbeards in terms of with kind of how it works. Some steampunky themes, steam power and stuff, axles. Trying not to go like conduits of electricity, but maybe taking some ideas from IC2 in terms of how those systems work and kind of the GUIs and stuff, but with a more kind of mechanical feeling to it. We don't want to make NFC feel really techy, as that just seems out of character for beta. We want to expand on the feeling both of beta's aloneness and kind of that alone world is kind of off corruption type themes and what's out there. Kind of that eldritch feeling that Minecraft kind of has in its background in these versions. before they kind of just babied it down and crushed in villagers and stuff. As well as lean into some of the like machines, pistons, automation, and things like that, and kind of some of those aspects, but without getting rid of the initial feeling that the game has at its core. New furry craft. I mean, yeah. Half of the developers of the people working on NFC are furries. And I am one of them. Yeah, at some point we will try to have out a demo of the tool rework with kind of a add-on that shows off what we're planning. Get that developed as an expansion version 3.4, distribute that to the community and let people try it out. And from there people can send us back feedback on what they like about the system and what they feel is kind of unbalanced. And from there we can tweak it for version 3.5. Make sure we get it nailed down of what we feel it should be. I misspoke. Version 3. Version 3.4 we're going to distribute the add-on for the development of the tier rework, which we'll do for version 4.0. 3.5 is not getting the tier rework. Also, I'll definitely check out immersive engineering. Sorry about slurring over my words a little bit. I only woke up a couple hours ago. Trying to still wake myself up. Moving forward, we also want to start putting more stuff up on the YouTube channel. So more live streams, more videos, especially more videos. I'd love to kind of start synthesizing more content for the channel. If anyone has any ideas or things that we'd want that would be good for the channel, please do throw them out there. Also, an offer: if people want to make content for the channel, we will upload them onto the main channel. So if you want to record like a series or something like that, I'd be more than happy to make that something that we have on the main channel. Kind of like promotes our people's content. Because we do have a pretty big platform on the YouTube channel. We'd love to get the channel a bit more active, because we've really kind of let it languish and just kind of sit around a lot. None of us are really adept at making videos, so for the most part we just let it kind of sit. But we would love to change that. And with your help, we can. Stop flying around single player and get onto the server. People can poke on there and say hi. Oh yeah, the bismuth apple. These things are fun. Have I considered adding more squids to NFC? Hi, Dirt Piper. Not yet, but we'll consider it. But yeah, the bismuth apple is something that we programmed to drop from my character if you kill them in game. Also, it can be crafted with 8 bismuth ingots and a apple. How do you acquire apples? Dungeon chest, and that's about it. And technically there is another way, but that's a spoiler. It rarely drops from trees, just very rarely. That's something we add back in 1.8.7. I mean, it might as well. They're already added on the server side of things. It wasn't public knowledge until now. On that note, the main server is not a PvP server, so do not come up to me and start trying to kill me. We actually used to have an Anarchy server for a little bit with NFC. We dropped it after no one played on it. The one time we actually got like a massive surge of players on the server was when we had some corruption issues with the main server, where we referred to it as the time warp. Basically, Road was trying to do some management on server and accidentally dropped in some files from an older backup, and they just overwrote without any confirmation. Which, it seemed like it was fine because he canceled it, until we started exploring around the world and we realized if we unload a chunk and then reload it, it would get warped back to what it was before. Business is radioactive, that's a fact. It's only slightly radioactive. And plus, the radioactivity makes you strong. Where was I? Something. I think I made my point, mainly. Road does. I don't remember what it is. I could look at the source code, but that's a bit you know what? Why not? Let's show off the official NFC workspace. Here's the process of opening up an NFC workspace. I open GitHub Desktop and sync that up with our current workspace. Let's get off of the main branch so I don't spoil our version 3.5 stuff. Then I open up Eclipse, and I click Launch and go into it. Behold! The official New Frontier Craft workspace. It's not impressive. But, yeah, Road. Cheese. Road drops cheese. Zalja drops apples. No. Hold on. Let me read this. Okay, no, I read it incorrectly. Road drops cookies. Zalja drops cheese. The version of Eclipse I use is it's the last version that like works properly with beta with Java 8 stuff. I don't quite understand it. They did some tweak and they changed it so Java 8 doesn't work built in, but you can still like build it against Java 8. But I just was like pass and just use the last version that Java 8 natively works on properly. So 2020-06. Really, there's no reason to use any specific version of Eclipse. They all work equally well. Which is a bit jank and but I like it. I'd switch to IntelliJ, but I don't hate myself enough to try bodging a beta workspace into IntelliJ. At the moment, NFC does require Java 8, but eventually I would like to look into trying to change it so that earlier versions of Java also can work with NFC. We might need to do some tweaks, and those versions of NFC with older Java compatibility might not work quite right with newer mods and add-ons and stuff. But we would like to add it at some point. Of course, there's the issue of having to compile a mod against that, and then it's a whole mess of stuff. And opening NFC in NetBeans. Oh, holy! I want to try that now at some point. Yeah, and there is some fancy Java stuff that NFC does do a couple places, so we might need to like rework a couple features if we were to add in older Java compatibility. But it should all work. I don't think there's any issues with like ModLoader working properly. I think ModLoader will still work fine with like Java 5. It's only newer Java versions that have issues with that, which is why we don't support them properly, because you have to like rebuild ModLoader different ways depending on Java versions. We might figure out some way in the future of like reworking ModLoader so that it can add the mods both ways and like auto detect what version of Java you're using and patch in the stuff a different way depending on it. Granted, I haven't actually tried ModLoader with newer versions of Java. I'm just hearing, this is just hearsay from Better Than Adventure and them testing out stuff and telling me about stuff. ModLoader needs Java 6. So yeah, probably there's some way we can bodge the things together to work with older versions of Java and newer versions, but it's not high priority obviously for us. It's basically anything can run Java 8 up until like back until XP. I think if you patch 2000, you can run Java 8 too. Plus, NFC is not really that is quite as optimized as like NSSS is, so it wouldn't run well on an old machine anyways. Huh. It doesn't surprise me that early Classic can be compiled against really early versions of Java. Probably doesn't have anything complex in there, really. I imagine the code's probably more basic than it is in modern versions. I've never worked with classic 0.14. Isn't that the version that is compatible with? Sorry, trying to think of the. That was the last version that was not obfuscated, right? I know some of the classic versions weren't obfuscated. Java 1.4. Can you get that running on like Windows 3 or something? It's really early, Java. I'm really pissed off with Retro MCP for one sole reason. I am happy with what they're doing, and I can't believe they actually went through with it and got the thing developed. But I'm really angry because I had developed finally like with just Enigma and hacking and like obfuscated code, smooth lighting into Alpha 1.1.2, and finally got it implemented and working and stuff, and I distributed it to the community. It was like, hey everyone, look what I finally got working. And they're like, yeah, you should have used Retro MCP. And I'm like, what's that? That's awesome. Okay, I need to see Minecraft running on Windows NT E3. That'd be fantastic. Yeah, Retro MCP isn't really all that helpful to existing mods. It's just good for ones that are getting their feet off the ground. Like NFC can't move to their mappings because we're already heavily embedded in regular MCP mappings. 3.51, yeah. I mean, 3.51, superficial changes in the background. Yeah, that's eyes could read. Eyes reading is a good thing. Yeah. Oh yeah, NSSS has completely like refactored itself into new folders and organized stuff, and trying to collapse it back into regular Alpha 1.1.2 mappings would be a nightmare. You'd basically be rebuilding the thing from scratch. White Bear, send me a message telling me how you got that set up if you can, because I want to have that. I want that. I would love to have 3.51 of GPU acceleration. That'd be fantastic. The best setup I've got for Windows 3 at the moment is running version through DOSBox. Which I do have a bunch of cool stuff to set up with. I've got the I can't remember the name of it, but whatever kernel extension it is, Calmira, that's the name of it. I've got Calmira installed on here. Photoshop, some general purpose applications. I'd love to get Internet Explorer working on this, but I don't know how to get networking working with DOSBox. It's just been a nightmare. It is not a Model M. It is a $20 mechanical keyboard that runs brown switches, because I like the feeling of them as they're fairly similar to the membrane keyboards I like. No, I wish I had a Model M. That'd be fantastic. I'm never sure how I prefer to run this OS. Like, do I like running it at the higher resolution at like 16-bit color, or running a 24-bit color with I bet no one came into this live stream expecting me to be playing a breakout clone on an emulated version of Windows 3. Sorry, 3.1. 1.1. Damn it. I really wish I could find a driver for Windows 3.1 that would let this run at 1080p. I would love to be able to scale this to my entire monitor. I think that is possible with NT3, but yeah, it's wonky. You know what, heck, I've started off the process. Let's show off some of my virtual machines. Let's get VirtualBox. I assume this stuff is still working. I haven't tested trying to run one of these in a while. Oh no, it is. I didn't know that. Huh. I did not know that. I've completely forgot my wallpaper is an XP, so there it is. My OS having some technical difficulties. Oh, it's still trying. Okay, it was trying to run at 1440p because last time I ran it, I was running at a higher resolution monitor. It took a second to readjust. Oh yeah, fun fact about XP, it actually did support the ability to set a GIF as a wallpaper. I don't know, it performs horrifically badly, but it does work. I wish they would have just optimized that and kept that around instead of just removing it. Yeah. This is the XP experience everyone deserved. You could set a model as your wallpaper. But yeah, MyPal. Great browser if you're ever using XP. Highly recommend it. I think my computer... Let me turn off the GIF as a wallpaper as it's giving my VM a bit of a heart attack. Oh yeah. See, this is what you call a wallpaper. All right, let's turn that off. Yeah, I'm just wandering around. Let me show off some of Vataken's base because they have one of the best bases on the entire server. Let me just warp over to it. It's like right off the bat, just like ridiculous stuff everywhere. A hot air balloon, giant buildings everywhere. And it just goes on and on and on. That's brand new. That wasn't here last time I was here. There's just constantly new stuff here. Seriously, if you ever come onto the server, this is where you should check out first. Check out Vataken. Also, the music ended, so let me put on something else. Yeah, that's better. Here, I know. Does this help? Does this help? I mean, what explanation does that need? Just, I mean, you can see yourself what I'm watching. But legitimately, you can explore around this base for hours. It just goes on and on. I haven't seen anything even close to what's in here. One of the newest things that they're working on is a zoo over here. Got the elephants over here. The monkeys over there. Yeah. At some point, we will do actual videos showcasing the bases in the server. That will happen at some point. We just need to coordinate it and get it well documented, shown, cleanly edited together. Eventually, we will do that. Interesting. That was not what I intended, but I don't mind the results. Okay, another major thing that's been being worked on the server is the rail network. Several people, Ventruvi, I can't remember the names of all of them, I apologize profusely, but some people have been working on the rail network and just expanding and making it this gigantic thing. I can't even begin to show it just because of how the magnitude of the thing, but I definitely would love to show that off at some point. Different variants of existing biomes, such as a birch forest. I would like to do things like that. It's a little bit tricky with the current NFC system, the beta biome system, because really what it works to determine where everything is temperature and humidity. But we can't add a third thing that alternates kind of what where the biome leans towards, or just mix ranges of forest which end up being birch forest, as well as extending the regions those things are to make the biomes a bit bigger. Which can mean that the wider variety of biomes inside of there will be bigger still, as they'll be kind of all that stuff. Yeah, I totally am into that idea. At some point, I would love to extend the amount of just biomes and variety, biodiversity you can see in the NFC world. That'll be one thing we do when we do some of the food reworks. Which honestly, we might bump back to version 3.5. Not sure. It could be 4.0 still, but just some rework to like add some more food types into the game. Make it so instead of instantly consuming all food, there's like timers, and different foods take different amounts of time to eat. Also, if we do that, we would have to add the code that allows for holding a right click to do something, which means we might also finally get around to porting the beta 1.8 bows to NFC, because machine gun bows we don't really like, actually. Obviously, though, all of this will be discussed in the community and decided on by them. We wouldn't make any executive decisions with the bow thing. The food, though, is an executive decision. We're doing that. Not everything should be left up to community. Case in point, Mojang, with their stupid polls they throw out constantly of like, yeah, what mob should we add to the game? Proceeds to add the worst one, like over and over again. Yeah, no hunger system. Obviously, we're not going to add that to NFC. People would have. There'd be an uprising. Actually, that might be a fun thing to add as an April Fool's update. Just the Adventure Update 2! And we just poured in a bunch of stuff from Beta 1.8 and just crudely shove it into NFC. Add the hunger bar, but like if you take one step forward, it depletes by half of the hunger bar. And that is true, and that's why we try to hold some more votes more often and kind of get community feedback directly from stuff. You can get some nice feedback and stuff, and we can hear from the individuals when it comes to a smaller community. Not everything should be a poll, but lots of things should be when they're kind of things that we're kind of undecided on or really want community feedback from. Maybe. I'm a bit iffy on adding in sprinting to survival mode. As you can see, just based on how I'm moving around right now, we do have sprinting from modern versions for creative, but I wouldn't be opposed to adding in a kind of more NSSS style sprinting system to NFC. I'm just not sure if it would feel right with the game. I do think the exhaustion system is a good idea, though. The one thing is I would probably want to add a bar to it to make it visible on screen, as opposed to having it just be the vignette effect. Although I do think the vignette effect is great, I think that's kind of more of an alpha type implementation, works better there, while a bar would make more sense for beta. The one comment I'll give towards the vignette effect is I wish it was a little bit more intense. It's easy to miss at times, especially when you're kind of underground stuff. And anyways, if the idea is you're kind of getting tunnel vision, your vision's closing in because you're exhausted, it'd make more sense for it to be way more intense. Oh yeah, I completely forgot about this feature. 3.4 light sources. Great idea, Road add in with these. Also, I love how he got the actual like effect working, where the particle kind of faces towards you constantly when you're moving around it. Doom style graphics. You see, now it's a proper NFC stream. Launches up Cube World. As you can tell, this is the older, better version, and not the stupid beta they put on Steam. But no, I'm not trying to make the stream an unfocused mess, it just, that is what it is. So, might as well lean into that and give something, some variety of what people are looking at, instead of just staring at me wandering in a circle over and over again on the NFC server. And anyways, the point of the stream is a discussion stream, not a gameplay stream. Agricultural additions like irrigation, new crops, etc. I definitely hear what you're saying, Serios. We do have some of those kind of ideas planned, not specifically to that degree, I don't think at first at least, but I would love... The general idea is I just love to extend the amount of food that's in the game and make it more encouraging to like different players to try different foods. One thing we really want to try to kind of make certain foods have more advantages and disadvantages is balance the amount that they heal versus the amount they take to eat. So like a cooked steak would take a good while to eat, while a berry you can eat instantly, but only heals a half heart. You see, that's where I disagree. Base classes should be abused to the absolute maximum. They are fun to mess around with. If you want compatibility, they're horrible, but oh my god, they are fun to mess around with. Sometimes it's horrible trying to get something working with an API, and it's much nicer just being able to go straight into the game's file and just say, hey, do this now as well. Also, hi there to everyone, to the people joining the stream and stuff. Steelcat especially. I love your videos. Assuming I'm getting your identity correct. I mean, to be fair, white. There's not bear, white, bear, 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 white. There's not much that we don't share with the community. We like keeping some things secret so as to not just spoil everything, but I don't like being absurdly secretive of stuff because then we're just leaving the community languishing, like acting like we've abandoned the mod. Great example, the game I'm playing right now. Cube World is a perfect example of how we don't want to handle development. Working in the background silently for years and years, developing something that we think is good but the community hasn't seen, typing it up occasionally and give people very subtle hints as to what it could be, and then releasing something that everyone hates. We will never copy Wally's actions when it comes to Cube World. I am one of the people that waited for this game to update for years and years. Joining this Reddit, Discord, just getting hyped about the update and then completely let down by it. I recommend to people watch videos on Cube World if you've never heard of it or just only know about it from like hearing about it a decade ago. Well, nearly a decade ago. Yeah, Cube World's a great example of a style of development we don't want to emulate. Talk to the community, get their input, be open. That's the goal. Totally, yeah. Completely agree with Griffin. It'd be great to see a series like that. We'd be happy to develop anything you'd want to help support that kind of series. If you want extra tools or stuff like that from the mod itself to help make that kind of series work better, or just help setting up everything and making it work well, we'd be happy to provide it. Yeah, the gist of it is Cube World came out with an alpha back in 2013, 14, somewhere around there. And just then kind of cut off development and didn't release any further updates or anything. Occasionally, Wally was posting stuff on his Twitter every couple of years, but that was about it. And finally, we get a release date around like 2019, 20, somewhere around there. 2019. And like everyone gets all hyped up and stuff about the new update, teasers about it, seeing stuff from like the trailer. There was a demo version released that people hacked into to like actually explore around the world, and there was a lot of hype going on. And then it came out, and it was horrible. They removed the entire like skill system, so there was no proper level progression. Every zone was its own contained thing, and if you went to a different zone, you would lose everything you were using. Like, all the progress you made in one zone didn't apply to the next, so you had to, like, re-unlock all the same items again and get new gear. It was just an endless grind of zone after zone doing the exact same thing over and over again. It was horrible. It is, and the worst thing about it is that a lot of things that Wally teased over the course of like the few years weren't in the game that he released. That he called the release version of the game. He had teased content that he did not add. Like, showed it in a video, working and functional, and then didn't add it to the game. With no notification or anything of like, oh yeah, that feature didn't work out, or I felt as though it didn't fit the game. No, just missing. If you can't tell, I'm still frustrated by the situation. Just saw the video that Chess pinged me with, and I don't know whether to feel threatened or impressed. I think both. On that note, I think I have seen that mod on Modification Station, and where they let objects be able to import as item models and stuff. I love that mod. At some point, I would love to get that working with NFC. If you are demonstrating it working with NFC there, I wasn't actually paying close attention. No, just something else. But yeah, I'd love to. Yeah. Oh, but if you think the current system, if you think the current metal tier system is like a bit wonky and overcomplicated now, let me show you the one we had in 1.8.1. Look at the durabilities. It just pings all over the place with the tiers. The armor durability, there was different protections for each set of gear, and also different levels of armor protection you get from it. The tiers were all over the place. The damages were randomized pretty much. Actually, the damages were the one thing that made sense, but yeah, wooden and stone swords do the same amount of damage as your fist. I made a note of that. Don't use them. Also, Cereus. Criticism of NFC. Reaching steel tier and having a good house. Not really much else to do. Yeah, that's one of the core issues of beta. It's without really more stuff to explore and things like that, it just kind of runs into a wall of like, okay, I've done the progression, all I really have left to do is build stuff, and which is good, and that's really what we want to encourage, and that is kind of the main gameplay loop of beta, kind of this constant resource grabbing to build things, but it should never be annoying and take away from the building. The building should always be kind of the thing that people have fun with. But definitely I do want to add in the Skylands and the industrial update to give more things for people to mess around with. The industrial update especially, is that gives people tech to improve constantly and innovate and make the processes better. So there's no ultimate perfect way to do it, but there's always things to optimize, things to do better. But yeah, just for clarification, this is an ancient version of NFC. This is not the current system. We didn't. Nobody likes this system. Even Zauja went to the server and said, yeah, that system was born out of thinking that harder equals better. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing. I can't speak for him. I don't remember exactly what he said. What I can say is it's a train wreck. God, trying to port NFC, that would basically be a process of having to port NFC to Better Than Adventure because of how gigantic Better Than Adventure is, with how much it changes. It'd be easier to port NFC to it than it to NFC. And then Aether MP, which is mod loader based, and a great project. I love Aether MP. but trying to get that working. Aether MP is confusing because you refer to it and you can never tell if someone's referring to the mod pack or the mod, because there's a bunch of weird naming stuff that went on with that whole thing. Someone did actually get the Aether working with NFC 1.8.7. At some point, I would love to rework it again and get it working with the latest version. The biggest issue at the moment is we don't have the forged texture system, so we haven't moved the textures out of the main terrain.png sheet, which means there's not enough space for textures. Yeah, I've heard that mod pack server thing is pretty dead. It was fairly neat poking around at it and stuff, and I loved how many mods they threw in there. It was the most impressive mod pack, I feel, for this version of the game. There's also the weirdism for a little bit about Mather versus Aether MP, with like one being a craft bucket port and the other being for vanilla, the vanilla beta server. I haven't quite kept track of the stuff, and I'm not sure where they're all at in regards to one another. Either way, Aether MP is a great mod. At some point, I would love to get a modified version of the NFC client working with what's close enough to what our idea for version 4.0 is, with the Aether running and something like Better Than Wolves running on it. Better Than Wolves would be a nightmare, though, as that's someone needs to make a multiplayer port of that first before we really do that, as it's single player only. Yeah, NFC and Aether MP would be great, complementing one another. I definitely want to take some of a lot of the concepts of Aether or MP and incorporate them into the Skylands idea. Not wholesale taking things from Aether, but we can reuse a lot of the concepts. I actually asked the Aether developers, and they said that everyone is allowed to use their ideas, because they're not even their ideas. Also, they don't hold a trademark over the Aether as a concept, but it's not even their concept. They took it off a different forums post that someone made on the Minecraft forums. Also, I'd love to see that multiplayer port of Better Than Wolves, if you ever get that at fully functional. Out of curiosity, are you working with the last version of the Forge version for Beta 1.7? Or the last mod loader version? I've always worked on the mod loader version because I just prefer working with it. Mostly because I can't get the Forge decompiled. On that note, if anyone wants to mess around with it, Better Than Wolves does have a mod pack that's compatible with NFC, as well as IC2. Heavy props to Chest Chicken for the Forge port. As well as all the help White Bear put into getting it working as well. Huh. Forge decompile is good with Retro MCP. I am definitely going to use Retro MCP in the future for that. Hey, totally, yeah. I was trying to not just forget about you in that regard. I remember you working on the Forge port at White Bear. And you did a lot of great work. I'm impressed. I would never have been able to get Forge working in NFC. It was something we were playing for the far future because we just didn't know if we were even capable of doing it, because just the amount of tedium and work trying to get it compatible has just been frustrating. Give me a moment. I'll be right back. I need to leave for a sec. Just leave you with a good image. And I'm back. Hello, everyone. I have mixed opinions on a bunch of different Linux distros. I like a lot of them. They all have their own drawbacks to things. I like Ubuntu Unity, as it kind of leans to that Unity aspect, but Unity is also a bit of a mess, so I don't really like it that much. If I were to pick an OS I had to daily drive, I would definitely go with Pop OS, as it's just the most user-friendly. Although it requires some tweaks to get rid of some stupid design decisions they made with the interface. Also, this loads a lot slower than I remember it. I'm just kind of sitting here like, alright, get on with it. Come on. Come on. Alright, there we go. Oh, I forgot how terrible the mouse drivers are on this. It's skipping around and stuff. But yeah, behold, the closest thing to Mac OS X I've ever gotten emulated. I've almost gotten Mac OS working in a virtual machine. I've just never fully gotten it functional. I think I'm getting bored of this, even though it's only 40 more seconds of it. What's something I can play that won't get a copyright strike? Could just go with more C418. Also, behold my musical taste. Yeah, I know what this live stream needs. Music is fighting of its... This might be a little more gory than I actually intended. Maybe I should just not play that one. It's good. Good Doom mod. What? Doom music doesn't make you think of Minecraft? That nice nostalgic feeling of just like exploration, that old legacy feeling, just... Apologies for that. Behold my modded version of Beta 1.8. Beta 1.7 World Gen. Pour the NFC creative system over here, including the world settings. I've got how many items working on it. Let's see, what other mods do I have on here? Modern tooltips. I've got the modern style purplish view to it. I don't remember what the mod loader sprite patch was. Otherwise, this stuff is all pretty self-explanatory. Oh yeah, I'm running in the Hunger Disabler at the moment. Which means that this basically just feels like Beta 1.7 with the improved lighting system of Beta 1.8. You know, I actually do like the yellowish lighting of the torches. People hate on the lighting of this version a bunch, but honestly, I think it's pretty good. I just wish it was darker. Because, I mean, sure, with Moody it's okay, but then I do this. This is ridiculous. Come on, guys. No. Just no. This isn't okay. I'm sorry, the stream is very gone from unfocused to completely off the wall. Once again, anyone feel free to ask whatever you want in the chat to talk about NFC, or just in general, honestly. At this point, the stream's gone off the rail enough that we can pretty much talk about whatever you want. Also, a reminder, once again, I am currently in Public 1 on the NFC Discord, so if anyone wants to chat with their voice, feel free to join the channel. Here's the NSSS, in case no one's seen it before. It's basically NFC, but for alpha instead. I haven't poured my add-ons to 100 yet. I think I'm just going to play the slightly older version that still has my stuff working on it. Notably the smooth lighting patch I made. Okay, this music's a little bit offsetting. There we go. Sorry, I'm not trying to silently just ignore everyone here. Trying to think of what I can do to spice up the stream. Get people engaged a bit more, get some stuff happening. So how's everyone feeling? Everyone having a nice...
Hello?
Oh, hey, someone finally joined.
Yeah, I thought if no one's going to do it, then might as well, right?
Thank God, I was about to end the stream because no one was I had nothing. It's going.
Yeah. Yeah,
hey there.
I saw the Discord. I saw you on Discord. I was like, someone's in the voice chat for NFC. This is new. That wasn't that sounded really sly, but I don't really.
Yeah. There's hardly anyone ever in the voice channels.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it was cool actually because I think the last time I was on NFC, I was trying to figure out the whole music disc conundrum.
Yeah.
I'm still scratching my head over that, and I know it's simple, which is even worse. It's just I have no clue what to do at this point.
We are changing it a tiny bit in the next update to make it a little bit more simple.
Right. Yeah.
Same mechanism. It'll just be one less. It'll be a bit more obvious what the mechanism is, as opposed to being a specific thing. One thing will be more generalized.
Right. Yeah. I think it's from what I've heard, it's definitely it's like you got the resources for it. It's just trying to think about what you can do with them.
There's one resource you need to get, which is a bit rare, but not the resource is not in of itself a secret feature.
Right, I see. Okay. That's gonna be. I'll go back into that one time.
But yeah, to anyone not aware, we are on the live stream right now, just to confirm that. To anyone not aware, the secret disc are a great feature of NFC with a bunch of hidden secret things to discover within the mod. Various different little things with varying levels of difficulty to figure out where they are and what they are. But yeah, how are you doing?
I'm sane, honestly. I mean, I just been studying all day, so thought that I'd just hop onto NFC and see what's up there. So yeah, I saw the stream. I'm Sororius on the stream actually. I was just watching it earlier when I was bored. So yeah, no, it's pretty cool to hear about what's actually being added hopefully. I mean, the industrial and the other stuff sounds really interesting.
Yeah, if you have any questions about it, I'd be happy to answer them.
I don't know. I mean, I guess when I think about industrial, I think about obviously industrial craft, obviously.
Right.
I assume that does that? I don't really know how it works, but like, would that have the potential to add more lag onto the server if it's like a very depending on the process?
Unlikely unless you've built a really large mechanism, but that goes for any large structure on the server with lots of moving things.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. Is it like is it mostly just processing methods, or like is it gonna add like mechanics to like maybe like something similar to pistons or something that could be I don't know, for example, used to open doors or something? I don't know. I'm kind of just putting things out because I guess I know what you mean by industrial, but I don't know like exactly what that consists of.
So it's kind of a disconnected set of ideas, but some of our main concepts are that it's not really electricity based. We want redstone to be its own separate thing that's mainly just for controlling circuitry and like turning things on and off. But the actual machines themselves will not be powered by electricity, so no energy units or anything like that. Instead, I'd love it to be more kind of the way Better Than Wolves does it, where it's more mechanical type power, where like axles and stuff turn turbines and things like that, and that's kind of what powers things.
Yeah.
The one addition I'd love to make to that is steam power and allowing that to turn that to be used to turn turbines and stuff. So you can kind of utilize some of our oil and stuff like that to kind of make those kind of machines.
Yeah, I have had like I've found some oil deposits in my on the NFC server, like around my base, and I've marked them with coordinates. I just don't know. I don't know what I'll do with them. I'm just gonna. It would be useful in the future if I want to.
I mean, oil can be used now. It is a fuel that you can use on brick ovens and furnaces.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh damn. Okay. Is it like the equivalent of like the lava bucket?
All the buckets have been tweaked around a bit. Like the lava bucket isn't quite as overpowered as it normally is.
Oh shit. Okay. So I can imagine like having like a pool of oil and like pumping it through to some brick ovens or something.
Exactly. I'd love to add pipes in so you can kind of pump fuels and liquids and items through them to kind of move stuff around and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I feel like if you were to add an update like Better Than Wolves, you'd probably call it Better Than Foxes, right? Like that's kind of the thing I'm getting at. Like when there was like the whole stream pause and it was like, oh yeah, let's leave you with a suitable image. I was like, yep, I knew it.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I might steal that idea.
There you go. I mean, frankly, like, I think, what was the other one? There was the industrial update, and there was also another, wait, hold on, I'll just look back in the stream chat.
Skylands.
Yeah, Skylands, that's the other one that sounds amazing. Because I remember, there was like this huge, this was like in modern Minecraft, but there was this huge mod pack I once played, and it had a Skylands, like, area. I remember having so much fun having, like, bases connected with, like, huge hanging bridges.
Yeah, that stuff is awesome.
And that sort of thing. Yeah, that would add that's like quite literally a new dimension to the game. Yeah.
I would, cool. If we do add the sky dimension, I expect we'll also add something like an airship, some sort of like boat type mechanic vehicle, but they can fly in upwards and downwards. They'll probably be oil powered, steam powered, something like that. So you put fuel in it to power the thing, but so as to make it not overpowered, but better than just having to pillar off to islands constantly.
Right, yeah.
Also need to make sure it's not too fast, because if you load in too many chunks in it on the server, it'll crash the server.
Oh god, yeah, I can imagine rendering 3 dimensions now must like add to the server load. It's
not horrible. The server handles all of it pretty well. It's just a case of trying to not generate a billion chunks at once is good for the performance of the server.
I think as well that's actually a good way to add lots of features without kind of I guess making the original beta overworld too different.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
One thing we have actually a world border plugin on the server, and I'm thinking initially we can set the world border pretty small for the Skylands and slowly kind of edge it outwards. That way as to kind of like encourage players to build a bit closer to each other.
That'd be cool. I made a huge mistake when I joined NFC, and basically because I played faction and townie servers before them in like modern pseudo modern servers, and so the strategy there is to build your base as far away as possible, because you don't want people, well, at least for me, so maybe that's just me, but you don't want people like trying to destroy what you're doing.
Right.
And in NFC, I had this habit, like I was in spawn, and I was thinking, if I build a base, I might not have a lot of space. So I thought I'll just walk out for a bit, and then 6,000 blocks later, I feel all satisfied with myself. I made this beautiful house, and I was like, right, what's next? And I was talking to I think Katie, if you know Katie.
Yeah, okay.
I remember, like, I was talking to them in the chat, and they were like talking about all build stuff, and I realized, hold on, I'm like 7,000 blocks away. I know it doesn't matter so much with teleporting, but I think it's cool to do like collaborations between bases and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, the social aspects are really important. Definitely.
We can't really put up the world border closer now with the NFC server just because everything's so spread out already.
Oh yeah, no, I wasn't suggesting that at all.
No, I'm just saying, like, I would love to set up that kind of thing, but it's not possible with how the server currently is.
Okay.
We do have a world border on the overworld, but it's just set out to like 100,000 blocks or something. Something that prevents players from going off on an adventure to like the far lands.
I swear I remember that there was like this one player who joined who I don't know, it might have been on Beta Lands, it might have been a different server, but I was just talking to them, they just joined, and like a few hours later they're like, oh yeah, I'm just walking to the far lands. I was like, you gonna do that in a day, or yeah, I know some people have, like, I remember like there was that I can't remember the name of him, but he does, if you know the series Farlands or Bust.
Yeah, Kurt J. Mac.
Really, really good. I mean, I don't really watch all of them, but I like coming back to check in, see how he's doing. And I remember when that other person basically, instead of doing it in small parts like Kurt J. Mac did, he basically just spent several months every day just walking to the Farlands, and basically just overtook it and reached it in like a few months. So I guess it doesn't take too long if you dedicate time to it, but I mean...
Oh yeah, the quickest way to get to the far lands is to... Really, the most efficient way to get to it is to go into the nether, get on top of the bedrock, and walk in one direction, and click E and W at the same time, so that's to lock your movement forward, and then just leave it going.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long that would take. Is that, I guess it's 8 blocks in the overworld per 1 block in the nether, is that right?
Yeah. So if you want to get to the far lands, it'd be 1.5 million, thereabouts.
1.5 million blocks.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. And then the walking speed is what? Okay. 1 block is 1 meter, and you walk. Okay. Google says 4. Hold on. I'm gonna do it, because I've literally just come out of studying, which involves a lot of maths, and I have 2 calculators near me. Don't ask why. It's just like, I guess, multitasking. But like, okay, so that would be...
Well, we all know the more calculators you have near you, the quicker your calculations go. That's why I have 5 keyboards.
Fair enough. Okay, 4.3 days it says. Maybe. Like if you were walking, because walking speed it says is like 4 meters a second. A block is 1 meter. And that's, you said it was 1.5 million meters? Like
yeah.
1.5 million blocks?
Yeah.
That's not as bad actually. I mean, like easily, like throughout 4 days when trying to play like Skyrim or something.
It's just no one does it that way because it'd be incredibly boring to just watch a live stream of someone walking in a straight line for several days straight. And then, hey look, I'm at the Farlands.
You have to essentially bring your portal. You also have to like pop, I guess you wouldn't have to, you don't have hunger, but No, I was gonna say something. I forgot that there's no hunger in beta. If you had hunger, then you'd have to pop back into the overworld, but I guess you don't have to at all in beta.
One issue with the idea of getting to the far lands is that you've got the bedrock there to contend with, which means that you can't actually get below the bedrock layer, because there's no way to actually get below bedrock in beta 1.7, because you have no space above the world to actually get any way to drill down below the bedrock.
Yeah, yeah, you can only get above the layer, right?
Yeah, so you can get on top of it, but you can't get back down.
Shit, yeah.
However, that's not technically true. Eventually, once you get 32 million blocks out, the world physics stop functioning. So if you get out that far, you can walk off the side of the world and then fall back in and water bucket below yourself and back into the...
Oh damn, okay. Fair enough. Yeah, I guess with Kerchamak it's a lot better because he's got like he's built up this kind of he's got his dog which he brings with him. He does those charity streams where he kind of hypes up people saying at the end I'll reveal the his coordinates. I think that's really cool, honestly. I think that makes it way better than what the other person did.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Kurt said it several times himself. It's about the journey, not the destination.
Exactly, yeah. And it's, from what it looks like, it's been impressive. I love how it started out. It's just this let's play on like a survival world, and he just thought, alright, I'm going to walk off in this direction now. And he hasn't stopped. Basically.
Yeah. I probably will end the live stream relatively soon. Can't think of...
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't want to let it just extend on and on when there's not really much more to discuss. Hold on, you were asking...
I'm not really...
You were asking about the Skylands, and we kind of fell off the conversation before you got to ask any more questions about that.
Yeah, I go a bit off topic sometimes. Yeah, no, Skylands, I didn't really have much question about it. I guess I'm just hyped for that because it definitely has a lot more... having something as like... I guess it just changes the gameplay a lot. Not the core gameplay, but having an extra dimension does that.
We want to build it up in a way so it's not just like, oh great, another nether, which is basically empty and there's nothing to do in it. Like, we want to make sure there's things to do in the Skylands. A reason to go to it beyond just it just being like a harder / different overworld.
I guess that could be where you find different types of food as well.
Right. Different kinds of food. Maybe we could mix some of the ores that you can find in the overworld, have different ways of getting them in the Skylands that are a bit different, but require like a different kind of effort to get them.
Yeah.
But give people an alternative if they don't just want to go mining and stuff. Because I feel like people should be able to get to the same point in the game without needing to do just the same thing. It's why I like in the Nether at the moment we add the Nether dungeons where you can actually get onyx from them by just finding the dungeons. Which means that you can actually skip pretty much most of the tiers if you actually get into the Nether. Granted, you do need to get up to the tier that lets you mine obsidian in the first place. Either that or do a lava cast. But the lava cast requires you to get iron, which... It's not like it isn't regular where it's all common and stuff. Really, the best way to find it would be to find a dungeon in the overworld that has a bucket in it, and then making a lava cast with that. That's the only way I can imagine doing it without getting through the tier system in the overworld first.
Yeah, I think I remember getting some onyx from the dungeons in the Nether. What I liked most were the ones in the overworld because I can make the gems you get from those. You can make a really, really nice sword with them.
Yeah.
Just one hit kill, basically. Are there any, so apart from Industrial and Skylands, are those the two main goals, or are there any other, I know there's like maybe a reworking of the, did you say a reworking of the tier system?
That's the biggest, yeah, the entire like overcomplicated nature where there's a lot of extra tools that don't really serve much purpose. Kind of condensing things down, making it more simplified, making it easier to understand to just a random player coming in. More user-friendly, basically, is the goal.
Yeah. Oh, definitely, yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea, yeah. I also think about, because with NFC I found like I think it depends on the time of the year, but like with the player numbers, it's kind of, it fluctuates depending on whenever it's kind of exam season or something.
Right.
And when it's the holidays. I wonder, like, is there ideas on like sort of like, because obviously like the NFC community is going to be a smaller one than like a typical vanilla community, because you have like a smaller target audience. But like, is there like, what's the idea for like outreach, like trying to get people to trying to introduce more people to the server, or is it like a good balance right now?
My outreach plan has mostly been integration with the wider community. There's a reason I'm trying to push my hands into every single project in the community, because I want NFC to be in every project's mind. I want all the people from the different communities to realize we're a project that's contributing our stuff to everything, and we're kind of this core thing. I want us to be that kind of core aspect, which is also why I want to take the language pack system we have at the moment and turn that into a community-wide standard for language packs. That's to kind of make our translation system into something that the entire community can use.
That'd be good.
I want NFC to be kind of in the core of everything, so as to let it connect with all the different mods in the community, and to kind of get that wider community involved with the game.
Yeah, it would be cool as well to see if NFC, because I don't know if this was your approach, but NFC seems like a really good base for like adding more mods. As in, like, for people who really like mods of like things in general, NFC seems like a really good base because you have all these ores which mods take advantage of.
And that's kind of why I'm also trying to build up the plugin in API, and I've been working on mods since I pretty much got here, with trying to encourage players to get involved with the project and contribute to it and help out and build mods for it and port stuff and make the game as friendly as possible to people wanting to add stuff to it. Because before I got here, it was pretty hostile towards that. The game was pretty much built to not be modified. Mod loader support was completely broken and deprecated and thrown out. The game was not built to work with anything besides NFC. That's the biggest thing I've tried fixing.
Yeah, it's really cool to actually see the community making lots of improvements. I guess, is it to the API? I don't really know a whole bunch about modding, but I know someone got, what was it? Was it Forge or something else?
Yeah. Someone got
That was significant.
Chess Chicken and White Bear put a lot of work into getting the Forge working for NFC.
Yeah, that's really cool, because that must allow a lot more mods.
Yeah.
To be possible.
At some point, we do want to include those into base NFC. It's just that we're pushing it off into the future until we make sure it's all stabilized and stuff. Mod Loader, however, will be included in version 3.5, so no more needing to install that separately to like as a jar mod. Now, for a lot of the Mod Loader based mods, the process for installing an add-on in NFC will just be, put it in the Loader Mods folder. Done.
Brilliant. Yeah. It'd be great to have a modding system that simple, because like I remember like I remember occasionally I'd find some, like for modern Minecraft, I'd occasionally find some mods which I could put into a sort of mods folder. It'd be fine, but so many of them require me to mess around with like extra mod loaders.
Right. And Mod Loader and Forge are both incredibly open source. One being just basically having no license, just do whatever you want, and that being Mod Loader, and Forge having such a permissive one that we can do whatever we want with it. So, okay. Just, sorry, I distracted by Chess Chicken's comment right there for a sec.
What did you say?
Not a lot of work, just one night without sleeping. That's all.
No.
I mean, isn't that what a lot of work is? It's just,
sounds like it.
It's just cramming it all in at once and not quitting until you get it working. Any complicated feature I've found out about NFC and like fixed has been that. Like when I discovered the reason that a lot of add-ons weren't working quite right with NFC was because Zauja had ripped out the translation system in 1.8.6. like entirely ripped it out, so everything was just hard coded into the game.
What's like the worst like debugging situation you've had? Not like worst as in like most difficult, but one where the problem was so like down to the line of code basically. Because I've had it where I've tried to nothing as complex as this, but I've tried to like debug some programs before, and I find that like the whole problem is down to just one tiny thing.
Oh god, that happens constantly. It's always one line of code pretty much whenever it's a bug like that. Generally, I just tend to... The thing is, it's never terrible, because I just tend to give up whenever it's something that I can't figure out how to fix, or just keep researching it again and again and again until I finally find it. One annoying issue we had was when I was using some combination of mods, like I had water shaders working with NFC, but for some reason the sky was getting turned white whenever I installed the mod, and I could not for the life of me figure out why. Turns out there was some like extra GL filter thing I needed to do inside of the telescope class that was causing the issue. And that was just buried in some line of code in some cryptic hidden behind place that just was out of sight, out of mind.
Wait, the telescope class, is that like for the class for the item? Like
No, it wasn't the telescope class itself, it was the entity. It was the rendering class that handles the telescope zooming code.
Oh, I see, okay.
But it was just there's been a lot of nightmarish things that we've had to do over the years that just like are this complicated mess of debugging and sorting for the code to figure out what a tiny little thing is. One thing we're removing in the version 3.5, which will be nice, is the sky darkening effect that happens when you open certain inventories. So, like when you open a crafting table, the sky won't suddenly turn black.
Yeah.
We always thought that was a stupid feature. I'm not even sure if it's a feature or a bug, but I found the line of code that makes it happen when I was debugging the issue in NSSS to remove it from the build GUI they have, which doesn't have a background, so it was really bad looking. Because imagine not having the darkening effect in the background of the GUI, so it was just like you could see the background perfectly, and the sky suddenly turning black every time you open.
Sounds like some sort of doomsday scenario.
Exactly. So yeah.
Just came back for revenge, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's back. Hide.
It's basically like he got so annoyed by everyone being like NFC weed now that he just thought, well,
weed.
Yeah. Anyway, I've run out of things to ask. I think that's all I really had on my mind, really. But that's super interesting to hear about.
Thanks. I think with that, I might as well end the stream. It's been great talking with you, especially, and everyone else that's been on the chat.
Oh, thank you. Likewise.
But yeah.
I've joined just at the end, really, but it's been cool to hear what's been going on. So, yeah, thanks for this.
Yeah, no problem. I definitely plan to host more of these slightly more often. Obviously not every day because you can't. If I hosted it tomorrow, I'd just be like, yeah, things and stuff.
Yeah.
There needs to be something to talk about before you do it, but
yeah.
I would love to host like some contests and challenges and stuff like that on the channel. Just things that seem interesting. People would want to watch.
The building contests were super nice when those were a thing. I unfortunately, like, when I get to building, I go, I'm going to do something, and I never do. But they, from what people were doing, it seemed like a really cool way of making people engaged keeping people engaged with the community. Definitely.
We'd love to keep doing that with the community and kind of help encourage it a bit more. But yeah, I think with that, I'm going to exit the stream. Exit this.
Cool, okay.
It was great talking to everyone. Have a nice day, everyone.